Hey guys, I'm Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop, and on today's classic and vintage episode, we're going to learn a block called the Turnabout. And it's super easy. Now, if you love learning about quilts, make sure to subscribe to my channel and join me every Friday for my live streams. So today we're going to be looking at this pattern. In 1930, it was published and called the Turnabout T. And when it was published, you used templates. So that was way before rulers and rotary cutters. But today, what I'm going to focus on is showing you some tips. I'm going to show you tips on corner squares, and I'm going to show you a tip on hourglass blocks and how to trim them down so they come out accurately and give you points so that your block can come out nice and precise. So let's get started. So your first step is to go to fatquartershop.com and download the free Turnabout block pattern, and that's going to give you the block instructions for free. And you're going to cut your fabric A and your fabric C the same, and these two are going to be used for your hourglass. Your fabric B is going to be used for your corner squares, and your fabric D is going to be your center. So super easy. Go ahead, get all of that cut. We'll get started. And for one block, a fat quarter of a light and a fat quarter of a dark would work. So your first step is to do corner squares. So you're going to take a fabric B square, which is your light square, a fabric D square, which is your dark square. On the wrong side of your dark square, you're going to draw a line from corner to corner using a friction pin. The heat of the iron will make the line disappear. And you're going to pick the top right corner and place your square on top. And here, I do think it's very important to pin. It's kind of big, so if you pin 3 times, that will really help it stay in place. And right here, it's not exactly pinned correctly because I can see that white. You don't want to see the lower piece. So I'm going to fix that. And then you're going to stitch directly on that line. And when you stitch on that line, I'm using color 2024 today, and you're going to trim 1/4 inch away. And your first tip is if you sew a 1/4 inch seam here and press, you will have extra half square triangles you can save for another project. So you can do that throughout this entire project. From here, what you'll do is press according to your arrow. And for now, I'm just going to use the seam presser, and I'll iron it after to get it more accurate. Then you're going to take another fabric D square and do the same thing. Pin, stitch, have your piece, and then here you're going to also press to the outside. You're going to make 4 of these for each block. So now we're going to move to hourglass blocks. Those are your fabric A and fabric C squares. And we always give instructions larger so we can trim down. So you're going to take both of these squares, cut on the diagonal one way, cut on the diagonal a second way. And then from here, we're going to make 1 hourglass unit to show you. You're going to make a total of 4, but this is how you make 1. You will lay it out according to your pattern. So you just want backgrounds opposing and your dark opposing. What you'll do there is sew with a 1/4 inch seam, and I would definitely pin. Sew with a 1/4 inch seam, and then it's going to look like this. And then you'll put these two together, pin in the very center. That's very, very important to get that pin right in the center. And then on the outside, it doesn't have to be pinned exactly because we're going to be trimming down. But these are all bias edges, meaning if you don't pin, it will stretch a little bit more than normal. So you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on that. Then when you press, it's going to look like this. And the main thing is you want it to be nice and straight. You want this point to be in the middle, and you just want to make sure that it's not too like all over the place. Then we're going to get a rotating mat. And like I said, anytime I make hourglass blocks, I always cut my squares bigger. And then here we need it to be 5.5, so we're going to trim it. So I've got a Creative Grids 5.5 inch ruler, and in the center of that ruler is a white circle. So I'm going to put that white circle there. I have my diagonal line going there, and these two corners, you want them to be touching the edge of the ruler. So you're going to trim two sides. And if you're ever making hourglass blocks at home and you need to know what size to cut them bigger, we have a free chart available at Fat Quarter Shop to get you going on that. Now from here, you're going to make 4 of these, and those are all the units you need for your turnabout block. Now we're moving to the hardest part of the block, and it's assembling it. So each of your pieces were very easy, but now it's going to get harder. What you want to do is put your light square in the center and pay attention to where the lights are in your hourglass blocks and where your lights are in your corner units. Now from here, the way that you can get this block to be really nice is putting your fabrics together and pinning right here and sewing all the way down. Now, if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, you could, if you're more of an advanced quilter, you could press all of these seams open instead of to one side, and that would get it a little bit more precise. Once you sew all of those together using a 1/4 inch seam, this is how your block looks. And since we pinned, we have really nice intersections. You don't have to worry about anything touching except these 4 intersections, which makes it really nice. And since we trimmed this, you have perfect 1/4 inch points right there. So now our block is done, and now you can see how it looks in our setting. This is the block. Now this is a free block pattern, but we have a low price pattern to show you how to put it into a quilt. And when we did that, we used stars as our sashing, which really makes this star stand out. And we used kind of a medium here and a light here and a dark here. So this quilt is all about fabric placement to get everything to pop. I did want to let you know we used a red thread so that your thread would blend in here. You could also use a white thread, but your thread would blend in here and not blend in here. So you can kind of decide how you want to quilt it, but all of this can be found at Fat Quarter Shop, and this fabric collection is Red and White Gatherings by Primitive Gatherings. Thanks so much for watching the Turnabout block. I hope you try it at home and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you next time.